Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faith Ann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for opportunities from people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. Let's dive into episode 55. Welcome, listeners. If you are returning to the podcast, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time to listen, welcome. This is the place to get your networking questions answered, one episode at a time. In this solo episode, I'd like to talk about an article I wrote on my blog, thenetworkerstourguide.net. Confidence grows in the chaos of change. Jordan Peterson has a great quote. He says, "Chaos is not the absence of order, but it's the potential for all orders." Let's think about our networking meetings as unbridled potential. I want to expand this idea of unbridled potential at our networking meetings. So, chaos, we think confusion, disorder, and we don't like that. A well run networking event should have order and shouldn't be confusing. That part is up to the leaders to ensure that there is order and everything's clear and the people in the room know generally what to expect. What happens, though, in the midst of that, inside the order, is the chaos, but in a good way. It's the change. Chaos is unbridled potential. It's change waiting to happen. One of the things that I tell people to do when they are walking into networking meetings is to ask themselves two questions. And they ask themselves these questions as they're walking into the room, or maybe it's in their car as they're about to enter the place. What opportunities are in this room or in this space for me? And what opportunities do I have for others that I just don't know about yet? When you ask yourself this question, your brain wants to answer. So when we are asked questions, our brains naturally want to answer. So it's a great couple of questions to ask yourself. We're not wondering if, we're asking what. It's not a question of if there are opportunities in this room. It's a question of what are the opportunities here waiting, either for me or for others or both. And often it's both. Often when I walk into rooms, I've found an opportunity for someone else and I've discovered an opportunity for me. Under this chaos, this unbridled potential, we do not script our networking meetings. I don't know beforehand exactly how conversations are going to go, neither does anybody else. Now, there are good questions that I always ask. There are good conversation starters. There are good ways to build rapport, and there are episodes around that, especially episode 50, Rapport and Trust, the second and third floors of your networking success. So, in one way, we do have strategies for good outcomes. We know the questions to ask that create curiosity, that let people talk about themselves. We know how to build rapport, and knowing these strategies, having these strategies, is not the end all be all for a good outcome, a good meeting. There is that potential for anything to happen. So, knowing that we are walking into unbridled potential and knowing that we're walking into uncertainty, why do we even go? Well, think about this. We're after change. We're after something that we don't have. And even as often as some of us go to networking meetings, why do we go? Well, if we had all the connections that we needed, and if the connections with the people we currently have, if that relationship was satisfied, if we were satisfied with those relationships that we already have, and if we had enough relationships, then there would be no need for change, and there would be no need to go to the Chamber of Commerce mixer, to the BNI meeting, to the breakfast, the coffee, the business lunch. This was really interesting for me to realize this week that networking is all about change. I want more connections, so that is a change. I want the connections I currently have to become stronger. That is a change. So we're not where we want to be. And in building businesses, you should always be thinking you're not where you want to be. That's how we grow, is we're changing all the time, and we're after things that we don't currently have. If we don't grow, we just stagnate. So if we stop networking, those relationships that we have start to stagnate. So we're after change. That's what makes all of the uncertainty worth it. We are after something we currently do not have. As often as I see people there, especially in my BNI meeting, because that's weekly, I still want change. Now, it's not at the top of my mind all the time that certain relationships are not where they need to be. But that's what makes sense for me to go week after week after week, is this realizing that I'm after something different. I'm moving forward in relationships that help me move my business forward and help me put out good in the world by moving other people's businesses forward through my referrals. Would this be useful for you, especially if you are in a weekly group and you're starting to feel like, oh, this is getting a little boring? Ask yourself, am I satisfied with the level of relationship that I have with the current people that I'm seeing every week? Or do I want a deeper relationship? And am I satisfied with the number of connections I have? Or does my business really need more? And unless you are trying to downsize, or you're trying to retire, or you're trying to sell the business, if none of those things are happening, then the answer should always be, I want more. I want more relationships. So that is what we walk into. This unbridled potential is what we find ourselves standing in the middle of when we're at that chamber. How many conversations are we going to have? We don't know. Where are those conversations going to lead? We don't know. They very well could lead to the beginnings of a referral relationship, where when I think of website design now, I'm thinking of Bob, where before I wasn't. There can be collaborations that happen with other business owners who are after the same audience that you don't compete with. So the wedding planner and the travel agent, they're both after the exact same people. They're not competing. Are you going to meet, if you're the travel agent, are you going to meet the wedding planner that you're going to hit it off with beautifully and begin a wonderful referral relationship at that meeting today? The room you find yourself standing in the middle of, is that what's going to happen? Or are you going to make a referral because your mother has been complaining about her back and she does not like chiropractors, and you are going to refer her to the chiropractor that you now have seen several times, and you've decided that he's worth your, or she is worth your referral. And your mother goes to the chiropractor that you recommend because you have built rapport at a networking meeting, and then your mother refers her neighbor, and her neighbor refers her all the people in her office. Unbridled potential sitting in the rooms or the spaces that we go to, and the reason we go and the reason that we're willing to accept the uncertainty is because we want change. We want more connections, and we want the connections that we currently have to become stronger. We want opportunities for ourselves, and we know we have opportunities for others. Now, let's talk about this uncertainty a little bit. Knowing now that we're walking into unbridled potential, let's talk about this uncertainty. And my husband gardens, and a few years ago, he had built these sifters, I guess. I don't know what the official name for them are. He took 4 pieces of wood and made a rectangle out of them and put a wire mesh in the middle. So it was like a box, but it had this wire mesh. And I was helping him, and we were putting potting soil on top of the wire mesh and sifting it and pushing the soil down through the wire mesh into some other container that I can't remember. But that soil, once it was going to be pushed down into this other container, was going to be used to plant seeds. So in that process, you're taking these clumps and sticks and just different things that maybe aren't good for the soil, and you're using the wire mesh, you're shaking the rectangle back and forth, a lot of movement, and you're pushing the soil down so that the clumps get unclumped. And I asked my husband, what's the purpose of doing that? And he said it's to aerate. It's to allow room once the seeds sprout, allow room for the roots to grow downward in a better space. Isn't that perfect? In a better space.
Hey, networkers! If you want your next one-to-one to go beyond swapping business cards, Faithann's got something for you. She created a free resource called 10 Questions to Ask in a One-to-One. It's packed with thoughtful questions that help you get to know someone and leave a lasting impression. Click on the 10 Questions link in the show notes and download this resource today.
So the chaos, as we're in the rooms and there's movement and there might be some people that we have to talk to, and we discover that that conversation is really bad and we did not enjoy that conversation. There's a contact that we really wanted to talk to, and we weren't able to because that person left early. Maybe our elevator pitch didn't go like we wanted it to, and we ended up freezing right there on the spot. We had to recover, and we were just really upset with how we delivered our pitch. Maybe somebody said something to us that was meant to be a joke, and it wasn't a joke, and it kind of touched a nerve, and now we're self-conscious. Maybe we're seeing a person who has done us bad, has not followed up on a referral we sent, and we have to see this person at the meeting. That's all of that pushing that soil down through the wire mesh. It's the movement, it's the chaos, so that we can get to those good conversations and those good referrals, those good situations, so that we can, the more we stand up and say, hey, I'm Faithann with the Networkers Tour Guide, and we tell the room who we're looking for. We may get through 4 or 5 bad ones, but each time we do it and we show up, we get a little better. We become more and more familiar with the people that we're giving our pitch to, and they're smiling, and we've talked to them beforehand. And now we know them a little better than we did a month ago. And maybe we got an encouraging word from one of them before we started. And maybe someone came up to us after our pitch and asked for our business card. So, in order to get to those good connections and the good conversations, there's going to be some conversations that aren't fun. That's what I'm talking about, this unbridled potential. There's potential for good and bad. I will say, though, the more you allow yourself to show up in these rooms with this attitude of what's here waiting for me, the less and less the bad stuff hits you. It just kind of rolls off of you. The more you are discovering the opportunities that are in the room for you. You walk in and you see 6 wonderful people, and they see your face and they say, "Hi, Faithann," and their big smiles flood their face because they've seen you. You watch people walk in and you're so excited. I get to see my friend Mary. We had a great one-to-one last week, and I learned that her daughter's getting married, and now I get to ask her, how are the wedding plans going? And I know that Frank, who just walked in behind Mary, he's just gotten chickens, and I get to ask him about his chickens. The more that you do this, the more that you put yourself in rooms where you have this chaos, where you have this uncertainty, and you learn that it's okay and you didn't die because someone asked you an off-putting question, the more you're going to relax into the space that you walk into. And the more your mind is going to be open for the opportunities that are there. I remember years ago, I was at a Chamber of Commerce after hours, and we were in a restaurant. And this was when I was networking on behalf of Window Cleaning Plus and my other business. And somebody asked me, "Well, what makes you different?" That was not comfortable for me. That was as if someone was taking me, I'm a clump, and I'm being pressed through that sifter. It wasn't comfortable because I didn't have a good answer. But now I would have an answer for that. And I think even more important, I would know that's a potential question that I'll be asked. I had no idea that anyone would ever ask me that question, being fairly new to networking, and that uncomfortable interaction taught me a few things. First of all, I didn't die on the way home, so I survived. Secondly, I'm not going to ask that of a person at a networking meeting that I'm not familiar with. It's just too much. It feels like a quiz. It just really feels performative and it doesn't feel relational. Now, if I'm in a one-to-one with somebody that I have built a lot of rapport with, I might ask, I don't even think, though, I would say, what makes you different? I would probably say, what do clients love about your service? That's what I would say. That question is really getting after the same thing, but it allows the person to search in their mind all the good clients and pick the best one and extract the best answer, the best thing that would answer my question. What do clients love most about how you serve them? So, of all the good ways that you serve them, what do they like the best? And it allows them to look back in their memory bank and say, "Oh, yeah, when I remember Betty, we were at her house and we did XYZ, and what she loved about that service was." So that feels like an open-ended question that doesn't have a right or wrong. What makes you different? That feels like a quiz question. Like, I'm good. There's a buzzer that's going to go off if it's wrong. Like, no matter what you say, it's not going to be good enough. So I would recommend that you not ask anyone that question, especially somebody you don't know very well. Because if they don't have a good answer, you're going to put them off guard. And even if they have a good answer, they're going to wonder, is this good enough? Instead, ask, what do clients love about how you serve them? That's such a much better, much, much better question to ask. Okay, I did get a little bit sidetracked with that question. But what I learned about that is that I didn't die because somebody asked me a question I didn't know the answer to. And then I had to think, well, what does make us different? What does make us different? That's a good exercise for me. Just in general, as owning a business in the trades, that's a good thing to think about. I would much rather have been asked that if I'm like with my web developer and he's trying to figure out how, or she's trying to figure out how to, talk about Window Cleaning Plus. Well, can you give me some ideas about what makes you guys different? And then in the comfort of, an office or an email, ask me in an email so I have time to think about it and time to formulate this great answer. Okay, I would much rather have had that. But the uncertainty of being asked a question that you don't know the answer to can teach you things. It can teach you that there may be things now that you need to have an answer for at a meeting. It can teach you that you're resilient, that you didn't die when you got asked a question that you didn't know the answer to. So you learn from the uncertain situations. You learn when you're pressed down through that sifter into that good soil, like that good container where you're going to plant roots and you're going to plant relationship roots and have those relationships grow. The other thing I learned is that I didn't particularly like that person. And now, this was a long time ago, so I don't know exactly what went through my head, but I remember the feeling like, I don't like you. Now, that could just be me. Like, I could have been overreacting. And I get to decide. I get to decide who I want to talk to and who I don't want to talk to. So, even if I'm overreacting, now I know, okay, I'm going to try and get out of this conversation and go somewhere else. If I was in a better position, like not so new, I might have stayed in that conversation with a more open mind and I might have been real vulnerable and honest and said, I don't have a good answer, but now you've given me something to think about. Thank you. That could have happened, I think, if we had had more rapport. We had no rapport because we just started talking. And, within a minute, I'm on a quiz show. I'm on Jeopardy. It was not fun. So I'll wrap up this episode by telling you that every time that we walk into a room full of new faces, we're stepping into change, unbridled potential. This is going to be the attitude that will help you the most. It will keep you from getting discouraged. It will keep you from getting bored, and it will help you be discerning. And you're going to learn so much about people, about relationships, and then you're going to be able to find those opportunities. So, unbridled potential is what we're walking into. And let's network like we want the change that's waiting for us. Now, if you are local to Oklahoma City and you need a calendar that has vetted networking events where there is enough order within the chaos that I would feel comfortable sending a new business owner to, or a person who's maybe been in business a while but hasn't networked and now needs to, or if you've just moved to Oklahoma City and you are very familiar with networking, you're just not quite sure where in the city to go, consider joining Premium OKC Networking. This is my online calendar. Think of Premium OKC Networking as the menu that you order your favorite dish off of, only it's the most detailed menu you've ever read when it comes to places to connect in Oklahoma City. The calendar platform has all the information that you need to at least get to the place. It says when and where. There's a Google Maps link in each listing. It tells you a little bit about it. And then there's a video that you can watch inside the platform with every organizer of each meeting that's on the calendar. And it's a quick 3-minute video, me saying what should people expect when they come to your event. And do they need to bring anything? Also, in this platform, Premium OKC Networking is a learning tab where I have courses. There is a course, Mastering the Art of the Referral Ask. When you are asking for referrals during your pitch, how should you be thinking about what you're going to say? How should you be framing the referral ask? What should you be asking for? That's all in that course. There's another course in there about how to choose a networking group. So I would encourage you to check out Premium OKC Networking if you are local to Oklahoma City and you need a platform that saves you time, because you don't have to visit 20 different websites. You go right to my calendar and look and see what unbridled potential is waiting for you in the way of networking meetings to attend and be a part of if you choose. Go network, my friend, and remember, what feels like chaos is just the change your potential needs to grow your business stronger.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basore. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.